Newer usually means better, faster, stealthier, more advanced. The A-10 Thunderbolt II has been on the chopping block for years, cut from budgets, then brought back again and again. Welcome back to Red Phantom. Today, we break down why the A-10 keeps getting cut and keeps getting saved. Modern defense planning operates under a simple constraint. Budgets are finite, but mission demands keep expanding. Even the massive budget of the United States Department of Defense, which reached roughly $816 billion for fiscal year 2023, must be distributed across competing priorities, forcing difficult trade-offs between sustaining legacy platforms and investing in future capabilities such as hypersonic weapons, cyber warfare, and multi-domain integration. Within this broader shift, concepts like multi-domain operations, MDO, emphasize seamless coordination across air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace, further increasing pressure to prioritize adaptable network systems over single-role platforms. Within this context, the A-10 Thunderbolt II represents a highly specialized legacy capability focused on close air support, a mission that, while still critical, competes for resources in a system increasingly optimized for flexibility and survivability across multiple domains. Maintaining the A-10 fleet is also resource-intensive. The US Air Force has estimated annual operating costs estimated at roughly $4 to $5 million per aircraft annually, depending on usage and accounting method, meaning a fleet of over 280 aircraft represents a substantial long-term financial commitment. As a result, the A-10 increasingly competes with multi-role platforms like the F-35 for funding and relevance in future force design. But cutting a legacy platform isn't just about freeing budget, it's about what you lose in return. The United States Air Force is increasingly prioritizing capabilities for high-end contested warfare, specifically stealth, survivability, and long-range strike. This shift is reflected in sustained investment in platforms like the F-35 Lightning II, designed to operate across multiple mission sets in heavily defended environments. The scale of that investment is significant. The F-35 program is projected to cost over $1.7 trillion across its life cycle, making it the most expensive weapons system in history, while annual procurement and sustainment costs reach tens of billions of dollars per year, according to official budget documents. This level of funding signals a clear strategic direction toward multi-role, networked platforms capable of operating across domains in future conflicts. It's like replacing a tank in your army with a Swiss Army knife. Technically, it can do more things, but you just hope it still hits as hard when it matters. In contrast, the A-10 Thunderbolt II has structural constraints at both operational and system integration levels. It is optimized for low-altitude, permissive environment close air support, relying on visual targeting, relatively slow subsonic speed, approximately 420 knots, or about 780 kilometers per hour, and no stealth, reducing survivability against modern integrated air defense systems. It is also non-common with fifth-generation platforms, requiring dedicated logistics, maintenance, and training pipelines, which limits economies of scale. As the fleet ages, sustainment complexity rises, driving higher depot maintenance and service life extension needs. These constraints reduce interoperability in a multi-domain framework and create inefficiencies compared to multi-role systems. In that sense, the issue isn't simply about cutting costs, it's about reallocating finite resources toward platforms optimized for survivability, scalability, and integration in the future fight. The retirement of the A-10 Thunderbolt II does not result in a one-to-one replacement. Instead, its close air support role is distributed across multiple systems. Multi-role fighters, such as the F-35 Lightning II and F-16, deliver precision-guided munitions with combat radius of approximately more than 1,000 kilometers, while unmanned platforms like the MQ-9 Reaper provide persistent ISR and strike capability with endurance up to approximately 27 hours. ISR assets extend battlefield awareness through wide area surveillance and targeting, enabling networked kill chain integration. On paper, this multi-platform architecture replicates and in some cases exceeds the A-10's capabilities in range, endurance, and sensor coverage. However, this distributed model introduces measurable fragmentation in execution. The A-10 can loiter for approximately 1.5 to 2 hours near the battlefield, with direct pilot-controlled fires and minimal coordination latency, whereas a distributed CAS stack depends on multi-node data links such as Link 16 or satellite communication, sensor-to-shooter integration, and cross-platform tasking cycles, which can introduce delays. Sustaining persistent coverage may require multiple aircraft rotations or simultaneous assets, increasing operational overhead compared to a single platform solution. This creates a gap not in capability itself, but in responsiveness, continuity, and delivery efficiency under time-sensitive conditions. The debate over the A-10 Thunderbolt II reflects a deeper doctrinal divide within US strategy. The United States Air Force prioritizes future high-end conflicts against near-peer adversaries with advanced integrated air defense systems, emphasizing stealth, survivability, and long-range strike through platforms like the F-35 Lightning II. This is backed by tens of billions of dollars annually in modernization and multi-domain capabilities. In contrast, United States Congress and ground forces emphasize preserving proven close air support. The A-10 has shown effectiveness in Iraq and Afghanistan, where loiter time, low-altitude operations, and pilot-level targeting are critical. Analyses note no single platform fully replicates its mix of persistence and direct fire support. At its core, this is a conflict between future readiness and present assurance. The A-10 Thunderbolt II sits in a strategic grey zone, not obsolete enough to remove, yet not advanced enough to justify long-term investment in a force focused on survivability and multi-domain integration. Despite entering service in the 1970s, it still delivers effective close air support in permissive environments, supported by precision-guided munitions and avionics upgrades. However, its lack of stealth, limited speed for approximately 420 knots, and vulnerability to modern integrated air defense systems constrains its role in high-end conflicts. The result is a recurring cycle of retirement proposals and reversals. The United States Air Force has repeatedly pushed to phase it out, while United States Congress intervenes to preserve it, citing its proven CAS value. This tension drives ongoing political resistance and compromise, including partial retirements and delayed timelines rather than full divestment. The A-10 Thunderbolt II didn't suddenly become more advanced. It didn't gain stealth, speed, or multi-domain capabilities to match the systems replacing it. Instead, warfare itself evolved toward networks, distributed systems, and multi-role platforms in a way that made the A-10 harder to justify, but also harder to fully replace. And that leads to the real question. As warfare shifts toward integrated multi-domain operations, are we trying to replace the A-10 or replace the way close air support is delivered? Drop your analysis below. This is Red Phantom. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and think beyond the first strike.